Today I want to continue on our journey to discover the psychological interpretation of the 12 gods from ancient Greece, and I will do that by deep diving into the goddess of love, lust, and beauty, Aphrodite. Since this is a pretty dense topic, I will try to be as structured as possible, even though that's not one of my strong points, so that it's easier to follow along and to make the connections that I'm trying to make. So I will cover 3 points. The first one is I will start by explaining who Aphrodite was according to the ancient Greeks, based on their stories. Second, I will sketch a bit of a wider image of Aphrodite and connect her to the family tree, who her parents were according to different sources, and other gods that had very similar, if not exactly the same, qualities. And finally, I will give my own insights and interpretations of this primordial force, the goddess Aphrodite. Let's dive in. So who is Aphrodite? As I mentioned, she is the goddess connected to love, lust, beauty, pleasure, passion, and procreation. So you could really view her as the archetypal feminine, let's say. And one of the most famous stories about Aphrodite is connected to the fact that basically she got married to Hephaestus, who is one of the gods that I discussed earlier, and he's a god of workmanship, craftsmanship, ingeniousness, creating things, the creative mind, the creative creator force, let's say. And he is the brother of Ares, who is basically the archetypal masculine, sort of, at least one version of it. He describes the god of war, the god of action, aggressiveness, etc. These two are basically brothers, and Aphrodite is being married kind of by force, but she lets it seem as if she is also happy with that, to Hephaestus, who is pretty happy with that because Aphrodite is also known for her great beauty and the goddess of love. I mean, who wouldn't want to marry that, right? So they get married, but secretly, Aphrodite has an affair with Ares. So every day when Hephaestus goes to his forge to make the weapons of the gods, she has an affair with Ares. At some point, Hephaestus finds out, and he wants to catch them in the act. So he comes up with a trap. He makes a net of very thin bronze lines so that they cannot see it. He hangs that above the bed, and then basically he sets the trap so that while they're at it, he releases the net, catches them, and he calls all the gods to come and basically embarrass them while they're there. So there you can already see a very interesting triangle situation happening between the gods, between the different archetypes. I find it very, very intriguing and interesting that there is this kind of attraction from the archetypal feminine to the, what you might even call maybe the shadow side of the archetypal masculine, while Hephaestus is actually kind of the good guy, the good but ugly guy who works very hard and is very intelligent, and Ares is kind of the football jock who just bullies everyone and gets all the girls. This is kind of the ancient Greek version of that story. So what happens is, in the end, the Ares and Aphrodite are released under the condition that they're both banished from Mount Olympus, where all the gods live. They accept and they go different places. But the story of Aphrodite kind of continues, and this is a part that I want to add on to this to give an even better explanation of who Aphrodite is and what her personality really is. So I forgot the exact place and names of people, but she's banished to a certain place where there's a human princess who is considered the most beautiful woman amongst men, even so beautiful that people in that region forget to worship Aphrodite because this woman is so beautiful, and how can anyone be more beautiful? So Aphrodite gets very jealous, and she curses that girl to fall in love with her own father. And what happens is she then, by this bewitching, seduces her own father, and he is not aware of what's happening. It's happening in the dark, in the night. They turn out to make love for, I think, 12 days or something. And at the end, he realizes that it's his own daughter, completely in shock by what he has done. He tries to make his wrong right by offering his own life and that of his daughter. So he's trying to kill her and then kill himself. But she's running away. Her father, the king, is chasing her. He cannot quite catch her, but she falls. She trips and falls, and she pleads to Zeus, the god of gods, let's say, to forgive her and to help her out. And Zeus sees this woman and grants her her wish. So he saved her by turning her into a tree. In that way, she is saved, let's say. A couple of years later, from the mere tree, something breaks open and a baby appears. And that baby turns out to be Adonis, which is one of the most beautiful baby boys ever seen. And Aphrodite falls deeply in love with that boy. And that's actually a starting point of a different story. But why I wanted to add this story is to highlight how insanely crazy Aphrodite actually is. So even though she's known to be the goddess of love and lust and beauty, I think it's pretty clear that she's also pretty jealous and really contains this chaotic craziness, which in that case also makes a bit more sense why she would be attracted to someone kind of insane like Ares. They both have this impulsive madness that I imagine Hephaestus doesn't really have. He's more like a controlled, moderate, modest person. So that sketches a bit of an image of Aphrodite, her attributes, and also her personality traits. Moving on to the next point, the family tree. I know a lot of people will push back on this and say there is actually no real consensus amongst the ancient Greeks on what the exact family tree was. So this is, I guess, what modern day scholars have collected based on the sources that are available right now. And it's probably also biased towards a certain narrative or to what was most available in the data. So of course, take it with a grain of salt, but I'm actually also going to play around with this family tree a little bit to make my point. So I think it's still valid to use it like this. So what you can see here is that there are two Aphrodites, and one is a bit more up. She is the daughter of Uranus. And there's another Aphrodite more down in family tree. She's the daughter of Dione and Zeus. And this is interesting because these are based on two different sources. So you can see already that there's a split in the parenthood of Aphrodite. And the most commonly known story is the story of Uranus, where his genitals get cut off by his son, and they fall. The drops of the sperm from his genitals fall into the sea, and from that a seashell arises and Aphrodite is born. This is basically Aphrodite's equivalent in the Roman mythology is Venus, and there you have a lot of famous paintings from the birth of Venus where she arises on a seashell in the sea, standing on there. So that's basically that story, that origin story, where she is the daughter of Uranus. And the other story is where she is the daughter of Zeus and Dione. The interesting part here is that in both cases, she is the daughter of basically the sky, the god of the sky. And in both cases, there is a connection between the sky and the sea and the water, because Dione is also not identified, but associated with water and the sea. So Zeus, the heavenly father, and the sea together bring forth Aphrodite, the goddess of love and lust and pleasure and passion. And similarly, Uranus Uranus' sperm in the water and the sea brings forth the exact same thing. So there is this connection between the two stories. Somehow they connected the heaven and the water with bringing forth lust and passion. So that's something to think about. Furthermore, there is another character that is very interesting in this family tree that's actually relevant to us, which is Eros, which is the primordial force of desire. You can see that Eros is first appearing as the son of chaos. So originally in the Greek mythology, you had chaos, the void, and from that, the first primordial forces and things started to arise. One of them was desire. So one of the first things into existence was desire. And as is very interesting, Eros or desire is, in the other interpretation, the child of Ares and Aphrodite. So that means, actually, I mean, both make complete sense. So you had chaos at the beginning and desire would flow from that. The desire to create something, perhaps. And similarly, between the chaotic and crazy minds of Ares and Aphrodite, also the love baby of that is desire. That is really what springs forth from this affair. So you can already see that there is this kind of reoccurrence and circular storytelling of where and when does this desire and love actually start to exist in the universe is very unclear. There seems to be a driving force, an ever-existing kind of story that comes back and has been with us from the very beginning of existence itself. So we came to the final part of the video where I will try to give a bit more psychological interpretation to what I've learned about Aphrodite while doing research and how I feel that it can be useful to know about this in day-to-day life. So also what we've talked about in previous videos is that I'm trying to see the Greek gods as forces that you basically cannot deny that exist and have an impact on your day-to-day life. And you can 100% agree that love and lust and passion is something that can really grip you. For a lot of people, it's actually a very huge driving factor to many of their actions. People can be really put under a certain spell and be driven to insane things. Basically, people would kill for love. People would die for love. So to view it as something as such is, I think, the right way to view it. So it's a very undeniable, strong, important force in your life. And I think, as with many gods, the problem arises that, or the way to deal with it is to really see them as personalities and identities that you can have a relationship with. And now we also know what kind of personality this entity has. It is a very impulsive, passionate, creative, procreative, jealous, crazy person. So we need to be careful in dealing with Aphrodite. We need to bring the right sacrifices. We need to be careful that she herself has a drive and is not something that you can always keep under control. But if you try to bring the right sacrifices, so to, I would say, put time and effort into your relationships, into your romantic relationships, make sure that you're not suppressing your urges, your desires, your needs. Make sure that desires and needs of your partner are properly met. Those are certain sacrifices that will, quote unquote, please Aphrodite and will at least not put her on your wrong side. There's still a very interesting discussion with the marriage of Hephaestus, which she's basically unsatisfied with because he just lacks this raw passion and impulsiveness. The story teaches us that there are certain aspects, certain wild animalistic aspects that really desire each other And maybe a flaw that we are uncovering now more than ever in the times that we live in is that we try to rationalize everything away. We try to make irrationality, impulsiveness, chaos completely disappear, not knowing that by doing that we are angering these primal forces within us. We are bringing them into misalignment with us. We are denying the fact that we are, in fact, just animals with desires and passions and stuff, and that these passions attract each other. If you try to create a fully sterile environment, there is just nothing exciting left. So in order to create this excitement, you also have to accept who you really are. You have to accept your animalistic nature. And I would say try to make the right sacrifice. And I know this can be tough. We are currently in such a strange state where people are just consumed by their computers, phones, laptops. I mean, I feel bad saying this in a YouTube video, but I mean, it's the state that we're living in, right? The only thing that I could try to change in my own life, and what I would like to urge you to try in your life, is to get out there, get into the nature, be a bit more impulsive, and don't do any stupid shit or something crazy, but be spontaneous. Don't try to suppress urges and desires that you have, but try to speak up and give them a place. Don't confine them because you think this is how it should be, but have real discussions and accept these desires in yourself and in your partner. Try to bring in a little bit of wildness and chaos, and also accept the fact that the masculine as well as the feminine contains a huge amount of craziness and irrationality, and that is actually okay. It's not okay, that's necessary. That's a part of who we are.
It's not okay, it's necessary.
We are not robots, we are not machines. We are human. And being human means that we are ruled by things like love, lust, passion, desire. This was it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening to me. I had a lot of fun. I really love making this series because I actually learn a lot. I have to do quite some research and then try to combine my thoughts in the end. So it's actually a huge learning for myself to do these videos. Let me know what you think in the comments about this. If you want to see more, if you want me to see it a bit differently in a different context. And also, if you haven't already, I made 2 videos on Ares and Hephaestus, which brings this whole story nicely together in that triangle that I discussed. I don't know which god I will discuss next, but if you have a preference, let me know down in the comments. Please like this video if you like this video. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. But above all, don't forget to have a nice day.